Well, welcome back to Interviewing Dead People. Our guest tonight is the author of many well-known books, including A Tale of Two Cities, Oliver Twist, and A Christmas Carol. You may have heard of him a long time ago in English class, but ladies and gentlemen, all the way from his burial site in Westminster Abbey, it's the one and only Charles Dickens. Oh, Charles. Welcome to the show, Charles.
It's good to be here. Do I have to sit down? I haven't stood and walked around in ages. I could really get used to this.
I see artificial resurrection went well then.
I've been dead 150 years, you could say that.
Well, we'll have plenty of time to jog around during the magical 21st century moment we love to call the commercial break. So for the time being, why don't you just take a seat right there, because tonight we're going to be discussing your novel Great Expectations, as well as a more modern book, Outliers by Malcom Gladwell, because it presents many of the same ideas and concepts about success. First off, why don't you tell us a little bit about your book?
Well, Great Expectations takes place in the mid-19th century, and it's a story about a boy named Pip who's raised in a dysfunctional blacksmith's family in a small village, and he's an orphan as well. He's brought into London, where he receives an education and a lot of money thanks to a mysterious benefactor.
And through the circumstances that he's put into, he becomes successful, hence the title Great Expectations, right?
Well, the title comes more from the fact that when I developed Pip's character, I made him a driven person. He's drawn to the concept of success. He's always working harder to get one step higher on that social ladder.
So Pip has great expectations, and does he meet them?
Yes and no. He becomes a gentleman and gains a decent social stature, which is pretty much mid-19th century's idea of success. But he never really finds happiness. And, of course, driven as he is, his success comes from other people, not himself.
Now, that idea right there, that he isn't the sole proprietor of his success, his patronage plays a bigger role. That's sort of the main ideas in Malcom Gladwell's book, Outliers.
Now, don't forget, I've just recently been above ground. I haven't gotten a chance to read that book myself. Could you please entreat me to a summary of it?
Alright, so here we go. This book is comprised of glimpses into the lives of several successful people and the circumstances surrounding their success. It explores the fact that you can't look at someone who's successful and consider who they are as a person to just learn the reason for their success. That just doesn't work. You need to look at their background, their environment, their patronage, their heritage, their childhood. These are really the things that make someone successful.
So, if I were to make an analogy, sort of like how the tallest oak in the forest isn't just the tallest because it came from a hardy seed, but because it was the one who got planted in a sunnier spot, was lucky enough not to get overshadowed early or eaten. There could have been a seed that was of better stuff, but because of its circumstances, it wasn't as successful as a tree.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Great way to put it. One of the examples given in Outliers is that of the mid-19th century, which I trust you can relate to. Gladwell comprises a list of the wealthiest people to ever live. You know, Rockefeller, Carnegie, Ford, etc. The point is, there's a clear pattern on the list, as Gladwell narrates. Of the 75 people, of the 75 names, rather, an astonishing 14 are Americans born within 9 years of one another in the mid-19th century. Now, this is something. Of the 75 wealthiest humans to ever walk the earth, from Cleopatra of Egypt to Bill Gates of today, almost 20% of the names historians end up with, are from a single generation in a single country. Considering this, it's impossible not to question the common idea that hard work equals success.
I can't say that idea was one of my intentional focuses in Great Expectations, but it's definitely there. Pip was successful because of his inheritance rather than his ambition, and Joe in the book, however, was more successful because he lived a more wholesome life, and that was due to his own lifestyle. So does Gladwell address this difference between life success and societal success?
Outliers doesn't say that personal ambition doesn't have anything to do with success. You can be a hard worker who doesn't find success because your environment doesn't provide you with the opportunities, but personal work is still a factor. If success were completely circumstantial, we'd have more apathetic bums becoming millionaires, and no, Outliers doesn't gloss over that. One of the statistics given in the book is that after doing something for about 10,000 hours, you'll become truly successful at it. For example, the Beatles.
The insect?
No, the rock band.
Is this a geographic feature we're talking about? A collection of boulders?
No, I'm talking about the four lads from Liverpool that are to this day widely regarded as the most successful musicians to ever hit the world stage. Anyways, they were extraordinarily successful. I mean, beyond anyone's interpretation of the word. And if you look at it, their success really began to show at the point that they had been playing for, and this was calculated, around 10,000 hours.
So there's the hard work. Now what about their circumstance?
Well, they didn't get the opportunity to do all this playing by their own means. It happened because a club owner who decided to have non-stop music for 8 hours a night, 7 nights a week, or some might say 8 days a week. Another example who I'm sure you heard of is Mozart. Researchers were able to calculate that he started coming out with his more successful stuff after he'd been composing for around 10,000 hours. His life was a setup for his success to work out because the community and the family he grew up in were musically acclaimed. So success comes from circumstances and hard work.
Fascinating. I suppose if I wanted to portray this balance more in Great Expectations, I wouldn't actually have to change much. Joe, who's Pip's father figure, was very successful at being a kind, well-rounded person. And because he spent a whole lot of time practicing being a kind, well-rounded person, and likewise he was brought up in a smaller community where kindness and hard work are more intrinsic to society.
Yeah, okay. Well, Charles, it's time for a commercial break, so go ahead and take that jog you've been wanting. When we return, Charles' favorite food, did people really have such funny accents back then? And of course, questions from the audience here on Interviewing Dead People.